The Jamaica Public Service Company JPS says it is working to have service restored in the following communities over the next 24 to 48 hours: in St. Mary, sections of Zion Hill, Flint River, Black Stonehenge, Tavern Hill, Whitehall, Exchange, Retreat to Charlestown and Upton; in St. Thomas, sections of Golden Grove to Hampton Court, Dalvey, Fonthill to Buckingham, and Trinityville to Cedar Valley; in St. Catherine, sections of the CB Poultry Farm, Hill Run, and the sections of Garbody Drive; in Westmoreland, sections of Paradise to Auchindown, and Darling Street to the town of Savannah Lamar; in Kingston and St. Andrews, sections of Shakir Circle, Guava Ridge, Swain Spring Road, LaSalle's Avenue of Jackson Road, Fraser Crescent, Wild Street of Windward Road, Aston Ridge, Airy Castle, Pigeon Valley, West Haven Drive, and Harbour View; in St. James, sections of Mango Walk to Norwood, Salt Spring to Flower Hill, and Portobello; in Portland, sections of Sansan Spring to Kensington, Woodstock, and Dolphin Bay to Kensington; in Clarendon, the Howard Avenue to Chapelton Road intersection; in St. Anne, sections of Hermitage to Chicken Farm, Prospect to Cotton Tree, and Breadnut Hill; in St. Elizabeth, sections of Black River to Watchwell, Spur Tree to Pepper, and Gutters to Junction. Almost $2 billion. That's what President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, Lenworth Fulton, says is the extent of the damage caused by Hurricane Beryl to the country's agricultural sector. Shaloy Smichael has more in this report.
Lenworth Fulton says the agricultural sector in the country has been devastated following the passage of Hurricane Beryl. According to Mr. Fulton, the estimated cost of the damage will be an additional $1 billion, more than the $1 billion stated by Agriculture Minister Floyd Green.
It is devastating, and the preliminary figure of $1 million, I think we will go closer to $2 billion than the million. When you look on the infrastructural damage to agriculture, shade house, irrigation hoses, and nozzles, and all of those things, we will see some big losses.
The JAS president says no tree-bearing crop was spared.
When you look at the banana industry, which is down by 90%, knowing that there was roughly about 3,000 to 3,500 acres of banana in this country and planting, and those are all down. When you look on things like papaya, you won't get any in the near future. The trees are all down. And you look at the current crop of mango, the current crop of coconut and breadfruit. These are all crops that have been gone. The acres have blown off, but those acres, once they are mature, you can put them down at a clean place and a dry place, and they will open by themselves and they can be used. So we have had significant losses.
Mr. Fulton adds that Hurricane Beryl dealt small poultry farmers a major blow.
For the small poultry farmers who build their pen from cutting sticks and getting pieces of wire to put together to do their backyard poultry, those are seriously damaged. And remember that the small poultry farmers produce roughly 40% of our poultry meat, and we are doing roughly 138 million pounds of poultry meat. So 35-40% of that in rural economy is a big blow, plus the supplemental protein to the family. So it's a major disaster, a major disaster.
Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Fulton says the price of agricultural produce will increase as the sector grapples with the devastation caused by Hurricane Beryl.
Scarcity, yes, and if you have scarcity, supply and demand, you will have prices going up. The least affected are the yam farmers, and they are seriously damaged too. But I think they will survive to get a smaller crop, but they will save their planting material, and which is part of the yam. So things like peppers and so on, we are in trouble with that. We have to replant. And remember, we have company has gone to the stock market to get billions of dollars to set up plants to do various types of sauces and so on. So we have to get back out there and plant now. If not, these businesses are going to collapse.
The JAS president says several crops will be scarce in the coming weeks.
You're going to have a lot of banana planting this week, those that they salvage. But within another 2 weeks, you won't see that. Remember that the Jamaica Producer Group does the bulk of our ripening banana for the hotels and our own home. And those bananas are down and planting. So we are having problem. And they have given a commitment that they are back in the field already, resuscitating. So they are serious. What is going to be scarce, you're going to have mango is going to be scarce, and things like coconut have been blown off the tree and some trees damaged, and most of the fruits are going to. This whole vegetable belt that runs from the Douglas Castle, Fort George in Centon, across to Bag Hole in Cave Valley, going straight across to Amiens Town, up into Barrow Bridge, across to Battersea, Bohemia. Right across there is the vegetable belt, and they are underwater as we speak.
Lenworth Fulton, president of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, the JAS. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he will be stepping up efforts to assist citizens who have been severely impacted by Hurricane Beryl. Speaking on Nationwide at 5 on Monday, the Prime Minister noted that the need for supplies is significant.
The management of the immediate response, water, food, we're going to tighten up on that, because in my mind, the core things that people would want to have just after a disaster. My last report as it relates to that is that so far the Ministry of Labour and Social Security would have, as of today, end of today, would have reached about 4,664 families. That would work out to about 18,000 persons with food packages with supplies to last them for 4 days. I'm going to try and step that up a little bit more so that everyone who is in need can get, but I want to seek to increase the number of packages, the number of persons, and the number of days they get support. So in that area, we're going to try and move a little bit faster.
The Prime Minister notes that every dollar of relief that is spent will go to the intended beneficiaries. He's restated the administration's pledge to ensure transparency and accountability in the distribution process.
Everything that we give, there must be accountability for it. And, even though it is an emergency, it is a disaster, that does not suspend accountability. And I'm saying that for our elected representatives, for our technical officers, for our administrators, and for the beneficiaries, that the disaster does not suspend accountability. And I think that's a very important message to be reinforced.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. And the Prime Minister says discussions have already begun about seeking external support for the Jamaica Public Service Company, the JPS. But he says at present the plan is to use the resources available locally to help restore power to customers.
The sentiment is that if we need it, we certainly will take it, and even from a precautionary standpoint. But the projection of restoration is that we're going to try and work as quickly as possible. But if we were to take on the additional work of integrating outside assistance, which requires certain protocols, training, and so forth to ensure safety and to ensure the efficiency of the operation, we may very well extend. So the strategy now is to use the resources that we have, work as fast as we can to restore electricity to all the areas that we can. And if we see that we cannot do it, then we would have to go that route. But so far, the plan suggests that we can do it.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. President of the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, Metri Siaga, says it is the duty of the private sector to contribute to rebuilding projects in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. This follows the launch of the Building Jamaica Better Fund. The fund will facilitate contributions to the Hurricane Beryl relief effort. The NCB Foundation will match donations made through the fund up to a limit of $150 million. Speaking with Nationwide News, Mr. Siaga says he's confident the PSOJ will be able to contribute substantially to the fund.
The private sector relies on the people of Jamaica to do their business, and if the people are suffering, then the private sector needs to step up when and where they can. So we have polled our membership, and they have been very receptive at this point, and we expect that we're going to get the funds to be able to match the generous offer that NCB and Mr. Lichin has put on the table today. So we're hopeful, and we are polling our members as we speak. So we will be dealing with it.
Mr. Siaga says the government's efforts have put the private sector in a position to aid in the rebuilding effort.
Listen, as the Prime Minister said, it's a drop in the bucket. It's $300 million, and we have a lot more than that needs to be spent. But the government has put the necessary financial, macroeconomic stability and a position that put us in a position that we need to be in. So I think that we will be fine, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. And I was emboldened by the Prime Minister stating that he wants sustainable recovery. I think that's important.
Metro Siaga, PSOJ president. And Mr. Siaga says the hurricane did cause significant damage to the private sector. However, he says the damage was minuscule in comparison to the loss of property and livelihoods of people in the worst hit sections of the country.
Huge damages have been caused to everybody. Just simply we lost a week of work, and that's a significant amount of money that the economy has lost. People have had damages to their buildings, to their equipment, to their sales, to a variety of different things. Not to speak about those things, because that's not important. People now just don't have water, don't have light, don't have anywhere to sleep, don't have the basic necessities, and that's what's important to us now.
That's Metro Siaga, the PSOJ president. The Member of Parliament for Western St. Thomas, James Robertson, says some areas of the constituency continue to face challenges in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. He says some communities remain blocked due to debris and damaged roads.
At this time, we still have areas where we have not been able to put in the right equipment to open up those areas and those districts. That's mainly in Trinityville and its districts going up into Cedar Valley and the Blue Mountain Range. Yesterday, I was able to get into Haggis Gap and Penline and Carrick Hill into those areas. We have areas now between Bethel and Nescastle where we are seeing pictures of, where we are seeing major infrastructural failure. The roads in their entirety are cracked and going down into ravines that are 200, 300, 400 meters deep. We see major challenges going forward that have left us with concerns for the future.
Western St. Thomas includes the communities of Yallas, White Horses, Seaforth, Trinityville, Landui, and Cedar Valley. Mr. Robertson says sections of the constituency remain without power and water. He adds that roads that extend for miles have been washed away by the hurricane. However, he's pleading with residents to exercise patience as utility companies work to repair the damage.
We have areas now that have been out, no utilities, no service, and that is from the hurricane's past Wednesday, Thursday. We have individuals reaching out to us to indicate that they see minor issues that could be fixed that would allow them to get back light and power and to make a difference in their lives and water. But we also have areas, big districts, that there is no electricity. But those individuals see and know that their power, for example, comes from Morant Bay, and there is utility poles and lines down where on the transmission system. So those individuals understand the difficulties. The JPS people out there working.
James Robertson, MP for Western St. Thomas. St. Mary has been spared the brunt of the impact, was spared the brunt of the impact associated with Hurricane Beryl. That's according to the MP for Central St. Mary, Dr. Maurice Guy. He says the main issue is the lack of power across sections of the parish.
Compared to the southern parishes, I think we here in Central St. Mary, and in particular St. Mary, have not had that amount of destruction. We have been significantly impacted by the loss of electricity, but up to Saturday evening, Port Maria and sections of Highgate had electricity restored. On Sunday evening, Anoto Bay got back electricity, as did the Anoto Bay Hospital. Port Maria Hospital got on Saturday night. Electricity is really out in the off area. So say from Highgate to Palmetto Grove, there's no electricity. Sections of Port Maria, Islington primarily does not have any electricity. And in Hampstead, even though the JPS crew have been working, and I think a bit late in getting their act together, they have been restoring some areas.
Dr. Guy also provided an update on the work being done by other utility providers, as well as the work being done to fix the affected roadways.
For the most part, all the roads have at least single-lane traffic. Some water supply systems have been restored. The Agualta Vale, which supplies most of the Highgate, Islington area, has been restored, and the team, they are working to give water. But because we get water in St. Mary in most areas 1 day per week in each area, what happens is that they have to resort to the usual cycle regulation. So some people are still without that precious commodity until their time for the week comes around. Our telecommunication network, however, has been a bit choppy in terms of us getting signals, but this seemingly is slowly getting back up to the expectation of a normal supply.
Dr. Maurice Guy, the MP for Central St. Mary. Overseas news now. The head of the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission says the lethal strike on a children's hospital in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, was likely caused by a direct hit from a Russian missile. Head of the mission, Daniel Bell, says analysis of the video footage and an assessment made at the incident site indicate a high likelihood that the hospital was not damaged due to an intercepted weapon system. She was speaking Tuesday at a press briefing in Geneva via video link from Kyiv. The strike in broad daylight was part of a series of attacks that killed at least 41 people across Ukraine, including children. The UN has condemned the strikes, calling them particularly shocking. The Kremlin said it was Ukrainian anti-missile fire and not Russia that struck the hospital.